Hey guys, this is Andre from Wealthy Neighbor. Hope you're all doing well. So in this video, we are doing another review and analysis. This time, the book we'll talk about is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lechter. So this book is already 21 years old, but some of its ideas and content are still up to date and still valuable for us to understand and learn. So many of you might have read this book already, and that's a good thing because I expect you guys to comment about my review later and see if we had the same ideas about it and we can discuss the book's ideas together. Please take a minute to read our disclaimer, and if you agree with all the terms and conditions, let's go. We'll start this video with a definition of what the book's about. Then we'll talk about the main ideas in more detail. And finally, I will show you some comments about what I thought about the book after I read it, the ideas I consider important for my life, and also the points that I do not agree. Keep in mind that this is my personal review and this is what I think about the book. Of course, what you think about it might be different. So what's the book about? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We expect that there will be somehow two dads involved and in different financial conditions. This book is more or less Robert Kiyosaki's biography. So he tries to tell us throughout the book how these two dads have influenced his way of thinking about money and finances and work and how to be rich and so on. So it's pretty much a finances book. I've heard about the book before, but I've never read it. The first time was a week ago before I made this video review. So at first I thought that maybe, I don't know, Robert was raised by a gay couple, or maybe his mom divorced or become a widow, and that's why he has two dads, had a poor or rich one and now has a poor or a rich one. But it turns out that it's a little bit different than that. So the poor dad is Robert's biological dad. He is an academic, a professor. He has high income and high expenses, but no asset. The biggest asset of Robert's poor dad is his house. He constantly blames the rich for his financial struggle, seeks the safety of a regular job, and works for money. He is always expecting to get a raise at the end of the year, and if he doesn't, he gets sad and blames the government or his employers and so on. He pays himself last or not at all and is pushed around by life. So every month, poor dad gets his paycheck. He will pay bills, he will pay mortgages and other loans. He will pay for food, school, and other necessities. And if he has any money left after all those payments, he will think about investing. So poor dad lets life push him around. He doesn't push back. He just do what he is expected to do by those guys who are charging the bills, by the bank, and by the government. So Robert says his poor dad is financially illiterate. Now, on the other hand, a rich dad, which is actually Robert's friend's dad. So this friend of Robert's was also his first business partner, because when they were like 9 years old, they tried to start their first business by literally making money, trying to print coins from melted metals. And when poor dad found out, he told them that it was illegal and advised the boys to seek advice from rich dad, the friend's dad, because the poor dad has heard from bankers, has a lot of money in investments and assets and real estate. So rich dad is Robert's friend's dad and Robert's first mentor. Rich dad is a businessman, an investor, and he has a lot of assets, or had, because he's already dead now. So rich dad ran a business on grocery stores, real estates, and had some stocks. Rich Dad dropped out from school. He didn't have a college degree. He worked for himself. He has worked for himself most of his life. He knows the power of money and how to use it. Rich Dad pays himself first. Even if he's having a bad month, he still pays himself first. And the pressure to pay everything else, bills, mortgage, and so on, inspired his financial genius or worked as an inspiration for him to have better ideas and make even more money. So Rich Dad was financially literate. And the book goes on showing a lot of examples on how Poor Dad's ideas and Rich Dad's ideas influenced Robert's financial decisions throughout his life. So the main ideas of the book are: wealthy people can cover all their expenses using income generated by their assets. So once you have enough assets and these assets generate enough income to cover for all your expenses, you can say you are wealthy. And rich people grow richer with income from sources other than physical labor. So the first step is to become wealthy and be able to cover your expenses from income generated by your assets. And the second step is to reinvest the excess income into your assets. So get even more assets so you can get even more income. And by doing this, you become richer and richer. Income statement and balance sheet integration, cash flow statement. So the author gives a really straightforward definition about assets and liabilities. According to him, this is what Rich Dad said when he was 9 years old. So assets put money into your pocket, and liabilities take money out of your pocket. A lot of people don't know the difference between assets and liabilities, and they will purchase liabilities thinking they are purchasing assets. And once you get familiar with your income statement and your balance sheet, you can see where your money goes and what kind of changes you should make to become wealthy or grow richer. Proper physical exercise increases your chance for health, and proper mental exercise increases your chance for wealth. So the important words here are proper and chances, because it's pointless or not as effective if we don't do something properly, and it's not a guarantee. It just increases your chances. It increases the odds that something will go in your favor. But despite that, we shouldn't overlook physical exercise and mental exercise. The main sources of financial struggle listed in the book. First one, fear and ignorance. Second, illiteracy in words and numbers. Third, falling for the rat race trap or working for someone else. Fourth, lots of talent but lack of a business system. And fifth, weak mental fortitude. We'll talk about each of these sources in more detail throughout this video, and also how the author suggests how we should prepare to face these sources and overcome them. So the rat race. This is an expression that means something that you do but it's actually pointless, something that's not taking you anywhere in your it's something that you keep doing but will not see any improvements in your conditions. So life's ruled by fear of being without money and greed or desire to buy stuff. This is our life's rat race, and this is what drives people to look for jobs and avoid taking risks and playing it safe. Because we are afraid of being without money, we wake up every day and go to work. And once we get our paychecks, the greed and desire to buy stuff makes us spend all this money in consumables or things that will not generate any income. So the author recommends we should use our emotions to think, but not think with our emotions. Now, the work and effort patterns of the rich and the poor. First, let's start with the poor and the middle class. The author says that poor and the middle class work all their lives for mostly three entities. First, for their bosses in exchange for a salary. Then, for the government by paying taxes. And third, for banks by paying mortgage, loans, and other consumer debts. The poor and middle class will rarely work for themselves. They don't care about buying assets, they don't care about investing. They think it's fine to work in exchange for a paycheck. Now let's see the work and effort patterns of the rich. So rich people know that a daytime job is a means to an end. It's a short-term solution. So by having a daytime job, you get some capital to fund your own ventures, and you get information, you get contacts to build your network, you get new skills, relationship skills, communication skills. So the most important part of having a job is not the money itself, but it's learning. And then rich people will work for themselves. They will pay themselves first. They will use the money they get to buy assets that generate income. Rich people will avoid working for a boss. They will avoid working for banks. Rich people don't like to take loans and to pay interest for others. They want to get the interest for themselves. And one thing that the rich and the poor have in common is paying taxes, because everyone must pay taxes. But one difference is that the rich have the tenacity and the means to pay as few taxes as possible. So the author goes on and says that the rich will found those corporations that shield them from regular taxes. Money is an illusion, an idea. The rich create it by being creative. If you want more money, change your way of thinking. So this idea consolidates what the author thinks about working for money. So poor people will work for money because they don't see any other option. They think that the only way to make money in life is to get a job and get your paycheck every month. While on the other hand, rich people will exercise their minds and their creativity, or what the author calls their financial genius, to come up with different ideas to make money, to generate more money. So poor people earn money on physical labor. Rich people earn money on mental labor or by being creative. So if you want to get rich, do not work for money. Work for learning something that will be useful for your future. All these factors we've briefly discussed make up what the author calls financial intelligence, or financial IQ, which is made of four components. First, accounting, financial literacy, knowing how to read numbers, read financial statements, cash flows, and income statements. Second, investing, different types of asset you can invest in, what the author calls his formulas, and creativity to make as much money as you want. Knowledge about the market you're investing in, both technical and fundamental aspects. So the author invests a lot of money in real estate. So he knows a lot about real estate. He knows when the price of a house or industrial compound is low, and he knows how to look for good deals. He knows how to negotiate. So this knowledge about the market is an important part of financial intelligence. And fourth, law. So the knowledge about law enables you to pay as few taxes as possible. And taxes are one of the biggest expenses of regular people. So these four characteristics make up financial intelligence. And the author says that this is one essential factor if you want to get rich, if you want to stop working for someone else, and if you want to start building your assets. So you can have this income generated by your assets to pay for all your expenses and make you even richer. The author also says that if you specialize in your field, you get more trapped because you limit your choices. This is something we will discuss later. Sales, marketing, and communication skills are the most important skills to invest in. So by knowing how to sell stuff and how to communicate with other people, how to ask for a price, how to decline an offer, and how to negotiate, all these skills are very important for everyone. And these skills will facilitate you make a lot of money. They will help you get over the fear of rejection, and they will help you be willing to take more risk and not be afraid all the time. So the previous slides cover the four aspects of financial intelligence. But once we became financially literate, we still have to overcome some obstacles to wealth. And all of these obstacles are related to our emotions. Fear. Failure inspires winners and defeat losers. Your attitude is important. Cynicism. Analyze instead of criticize. Laziness. A little greed is good. This little greed will make you overcome your laziness in becoming financially literate, for example. Bad habits. Pay yourself first instead of paying yourself last. Even if you have a bad month, all the pressure generated by the fact that you still have to pay your bills will act as an inspiration to fight what the author called bullies, those who push you around and want to take your money, and arrogance, which is most often than not used to hide ignorance. So having a financial intelligence is not enough. You still have to fight your emotions and everything that holds you back if you want to get rich. Now the author talks a lot about taking risk and not playing it safe. So get yourself in a position where you can afford to take more risk. The idea of a solid investment foundation. Do not try to build the Empire State Building on a brownstone's foundation, because it's not going to work. Your building will crumble because your foundation is not good enough. Give and you shall receive, but do not give expecting something in return. So the author says that both of his dads would be willing to give a lot. Both of them like to do good things, do good deeds, and help people learn and educate other people. But when it comes to money, Rich Dad would donate a lot of money for churches or NGOs or other foundations, even if he was not having a good month. While on the other hand, poor dad would say, I will donate to these people if I have any money left at the end of the month, which never happened. And since the author is such an investor in real estate, the whole book is full of real estate investing advice, but mostly they are about being creative and bold. And to sum it up, the author says that there are three types of income. Ordinary earned income, that comes from your paycheck from working for someone else in a company. Portfolio income, that comes from stocks, dividends, appreciation, and passive income, which comes from real estate, from your tenants and from the rent they pay. And financial literacy allows you to convert ordinary earned income into portfolio and passive income as soon as possible. Not only financial literacy, but both financial literacy and overcoming those 5 emotions we mentioned earlier. When you buy an asset, that dollar you spend becomes your employee. It will start working for you, earning some capital 24/7. Once you buy an asset, don't let that money come out of that asset. Do not sell that asset even if you need money. Instead, when you need money, think hard enough and be creative enough to find out new ways of making money. And finally, buy luxuries on asset income rather than on liabilities. So most people who want to buy a car and don't have the money right now will take a car loan. They have to pay this loan for, I don't know, 5 years. And also, this car is not an asset, right? This car is a liability because you have to pay tax on your car. It generates expenses such as fuel, maintenance, parking, tolls. So it's actually getting money out of your pocket, and by the author's definition, this is a liability. So instead of taking a loan to buy some consumable or luxuries, you should be diligent with your investment and build your assets so that the income generated by your asset is enough to afford this luxury. This will give the luxury a deeper meaning and make you appreciate it even more. And that's it for the book's main ideas. Let's move on to some comments and discussions. The author says that rich people can avoid investing in mutual funds because they don't need to play it safe. But you know, the book was written 21 years ago, and nowadays there are many kinds of mutual funds, including very risky ones for each type of investor. I believe that whatever you decide to invest in mutual funds or not, it should depend on the type of investor you are, how much time and resources you can commit to your investment. For example, if you don't want to research companies and check their financial reports and how the company has been doing through the last 5 to 10 years, maybe you just buy some index mutual fund. It will save you a lot of time. It also should depend on your financial goals, how much money you want and in how much time, and also your risk tolerance. And mutual funds are not that bad and should not be avoided altogether without any consideration. The author says that people feel safe by keeping up with the Joneses. We know that this is the herd instinct. People have the fear of ostracism or being left out of a group, so they will do what other people do, such as have a house as their main asset and believe that their paycheck provides safety. You know, the mainstream changes. This book was written 21 years ago, and once enough people believe in the author's philosophy and start doing what the author suggests, it also becomes a part of the mainstream or becomes a part of being a Jones. So you know, don't believe in everything you read. Always try to be a critic, learn to gather information by yourself, and don't blindly believe in what other people say. I think this book emphasizes taking risk a little bit too much. The author says that failure inspires winners but defeat losers, and that if you are not willing to go big, you'll never get rich, and that playing it safe is not what the rich do. Maybe the reason why I don't like all this praise for risk is because I don't like taking a lot of risk myself. But you know, always make sure that you need to take the risk. If you have your financial plans and objectives, and you know how long you can, and you know how much you can save every month, and how much time you have to reach your goals, you do not need to take too much risk, you know. There is always a trade-off, so know what you're doing, study your investments. An interesting investment strategy I got from the book is to look beyond the ROI and focus on the assets you get for free once you get your principal back. So the author gives both real estate and stock examples. I will only share with you guys the stock example because it's the one I understood. So it goes more or less like this. Say Amazon stock is trading at $100 and you go and buy 1,000 shares. 1,000 shares for $100, you spend $100,000. And say that 2 years from now, Amazon stock is now trading at 120. So the current market value of your 1,000 shares is $100,000. Now you go ahead and sell $100,000 worth of shares. So you still have some shares left and you got your principal back. You can use the principal in some other investment, but after this time you got around 167 Amazon shares left on your portfolio, and this is what you got for free. But it's not really free because there's the cost of opportunity and the risk you're willing to take in buying stocks in the first place. But you get the idea. And I think that this is an interesting strategy. And I do agree with the author that financial education is extremely important in our lives. So start early, invest money, time, and effort in your education. Exercise your mind, take controlled risk, and learn from your mistakes. Now, returning to that point I mentioned earlier, does specialization really work against being rich? Well, I understand what the author said, that once we specialize, we are broadening our field and we are limiting our options. But on the other hand, we really get a lot of information about a very specific subject. So we are the experts. And if we are good enough, other people will ask for our opinions about the subject in which we are experts at. And we can charge a lot for that because, after all, we are specialized on that and no one knows it better than we do. And if you specialize in something and you lose your job and can't get a new one in the area you have specialized on, you can use the so-called financial genius to find other ways to apply all the knowledge you have. I don't know, maybe this knowledge can give you an edge in the stock market. Start writing articles about it, or maybe someone will be interested and willing to pay a lot for your opinion. Who knows what's going to happen? And that's it for Rich Dad Poor Dad, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for your time and for watching all the way up to here. Let me know what you think about the book in the comments, your ideas about it, and whatever you agree or disagree with what the author says. See you later, guys. Bye bye.